We're diving deep into one of the most powerful tools you can add to your Jira setup, great gadgets for Jira. Whether you're managing a small team or a large enterprise, this app provides a suite of gadgets that can help you visualize your data, track progress, and make informed decisions like never before. It offers a variety of gadgets for tracking essential project metrics, charts, and KPIs. It is available on Atlassian Marketplace for both Jira and Confluence. It is suitable for any type of project, such as single-team or multi-team projects, agile projects like Scrum or Kanban, agile at scale or safe, ITSM, service desk or support. It is the ideal tool for any Scrum Master, RTE, product owner, project managers and even executive managers. Great Gadgets is fully localized in 6 languages, and it is developed by StonicByte, a Gold Atlassian Marketplace partner, and an ISO-certified company. In this video, we'll walk through how to configure and use every single gadget that this app offers. From release Burndown charts and Kanban Velocity, to cumulative flow diagrams and control charts, we've got you covered. Let's get started. The Team Wallboard gadget displays the contents of a Jira board in an Agile-style task board format. You can use this gadget to make your Agile team's work visible on your Jira dashboards. The gadget supports both Scrum and Kanban board types, as well as filters or JQLs. It can display stories and tasks, as well as subtasks. In addition, it can group data in swim lanes by various criteria, such as assignees, stories, projects, priorities, or epics. Due to its compact mode display, it lets you visualize many items at once. Let's see how this gadget can be configured by showcasing a real-life scenario. Assuming that you have a Scrum team, and you want to display their work items from the current sprint in your dashboard, all you have to do is configure it to use the Scrum board of your team. Then choose the estimation field, and eventually check the option for displaying the subtasks. And here you go, the gadget now displays the work items from the current sprint. The sprint name and timeline are displayed at the top. The board columns show work items that they contain. The stories and tasks are represented by the green cards, while the subtasks are represented by the yellow cards. If you want the gadget to display swim lanes, just choose the appropriate swim lane criteria, like assignees for example, and here you go. The gadget now displays the work items in swim lanes. If you want to change the card colors, you can easily do this in the gadget settings. The gadget can also display the items from a filter or JQL. In this case, the columns of the displayed board are given by the 3 status categories in Jira: To Do, In Progress, and Done. So, don't miss the opportunity to better visualize the work of your team with this awesome gadget. The Sprint Burndown Burnup chart gadget helps you track the progress of the current sprint or iteration, being an essential chart for any Scrum project. The series to be displayed are configurable, thus allowing you to use the gadget as a burndown, burnup, or both, providing a flexible tool to monitor your sprint progress in a truly agile way. On its Data tab, it displays a sprint report, which can be easily exported in CSV format. Now, let's see how it can be configured. Assuming that you already started the sprint, all you have to do is configure the gadget to use your Scrum board, and to display the active sprint. You have the option to select a past sprint if you want. The gadget allows you to include the subtasks in the calculation. It supports multiple estimation methods, such as story points, time estimates, issue count, or any other numerical custom field. In this example, we'll use story points. To configure it as a burndown chart, you should select only the ideal burndown, remaining, and scope series to be displayed. For your data table to show, you have to check the Show Data Table option in the More Settings tab. And here you go. The Sprint Burndown chart is now showing on your dashboard. If you prefer a burnup chart instead of a burndown, select only the ideal burnup and burn series. The gadget is highly configurable. You can choose to use custom done statuses, consider weekends as working days, or customize the colors. So, don't miss the opportunity to add this awesome gadget to your Jira dashboard. The Release Burndown Burnup Chart gadget helps you track the progress of your entire project release. If you have multiple teams working on the same release or product increment, this gadget lets you generate a cross-team burndown chart to see the overall project along the release timeframe. In addition, it can display a forecast and estimate the final release date based on the overall team velocity, and optionally, the scope change ratio. The series to be displayed are configurable, thus allowing you to use the gadget as a burndown, burnup, or both, providing a flexible tool to monitor your project in a truly agile way. Now, let's see how it can be configured. Assuming that we have our release backlog prepared, and the work items were already estimated, all you have to do is configure the gadget to return the items that are in the scope of the release. You have the option to include the subtasks in the calculation. Enter the planned release dates. You can choose to manually enter the planned release dates, or, as in this example, select the dates of a project release. At intervals of, you can set the length of your sprints or iterations, but it is recommended to set it to 1 day, to see the progress in real time, on a day-by-day basis. The gadget supports multiple estimation methods, such as story points, time estimates, issue count, or any other numerical custom field. To configure it as a burndown chart, go to the Series tab, and select only the ideal burndown, remaining, and scope series to be displayed. And here you go. The release burndown chart is now showing on your dashboard. Now, let's configure it to calculate and display the forecast. Go to the Forecast tab and choose the method for calculating the average velocity for the end date forecast. If you select the first option, the gadget will calculate the velocity as the average of the work completed, or burned, in all the past time intervals displayed by the chart. Choosing the second option, as in this example, will only calculate based on the last 7 intervals in the chart. The third option lets you enter a fixed velocity. This is especially useful when the project has just started and you don't have enough completed intervals in the chart yet. The gadget calculates the scope forecast in a similar way. In addition, it can consider the scope forecast when making the end date forecast. For it to be displayed, you have to select at least one of the forecast series. And here you go, it now displays the ETA of your project's release. Optionally, in the More Settings tab, you can configure it to display milestones as a percentage of the entire release time frame. Previous milestones will be shown in green if they were successfully reached, or in red, if not. And remember, even if this is an essential chart for Scrum projects, nothing stops you from using it in non-agile projects. The Team Velocity gadget displays the average amount of work a Scrum team completes during a sprint. You can use this chart to see how much your team delivers over time, if they improve from one sprint to the next, or if they tend to change scope during the sprint. Knowing the team's current average velocity helps predict how quickly they can work on the backlog, and how much they can commit to in the next sprint planning meeting. Now, let's see how this gadget can be configured. All you have to do is configure the gadget to use the Scrum board of the team. The gadget allows you to include subtasks in the calculation. It supports multiple estimation methods, such as story points, time estimates, issue count, or any other numerical custom field. In this example, we will use story points. You can keep the pre-selected series. And look! The sprint velocity chart is now displayed on the dashboard. Initial scope indicates the team's commitment, as it was at the beginning of the sprint, while final scope shows the final amount of work in the sprint, after any scope changes. Completed shows the work done in the sprint, and the average velocity line shows how the average velocity has evolved over time. The gadget is highly configurable. You can choose to display other useful metrics, such as % completed, or % scope change. You can add custom done statuses. And you can customize colors. The gadget can also display a data table with the issues and numbers specific to each sprint, which can be easily exported in CSV format. So, don't miss the opportunity to add this awesome gadget to your Jira dashboard. The Kanban Velocity or Throughput gadget displays the average amount of work a team completes over certain time periods. You can use this chart to determine the team's average work delivery pace, or throughput, based on past data, and see if your team improves over time. Knowing your team's velocity or throughput helps you better plan future work and estimate delivery dates. Now, let's see how this gadget can be configured. All you have to do is configure the gadget to use a board, or a filter that contains the issues worked on by your team. The gadget allows you to include subtasks in the calculation. It supports multiple calculation methods, such as issue count, story points, time estimates, or any other numerical custom field. In this example, we will calculate the throughput by issue count for 2 week-long intervals, configure the gadget to display 5 intervals, and calculate the average velocity based on the last 3 intervals. And look, the throughput chart is now displayed on the dashboard. Completed shows the work done in each past time interval, and the average velocity line shows how the average velocity or throughput evolved over time. And that's not all. Checking the Show Backlog Forecast option will display the backlog of your Kanban board, along with the ETA of work items, determined based on the team's current velocity. This is very useful because it helps you answer the difficult question, when will it be done? The gadget can also display a data tab with a detailed report, which can be easily exported to CSV format. You can choose to calculate by custom-done statuses, or by statuses that have been reached at least once. And you can configure the colors. So, don't miss the opportunity to efficiently measure the throughput of your team, and improve your process workflow with this awesome gadget. The Control Chart gadget is a plot diagram that shows the work items from a filter by their completion time and duration. It tells you how long items are taking to complete, and helps you easily identify outliers. You can configure it to measure the duration, in the form of cycle time, lead time, or time between 2 workflow statuses. Cycle time is the processing time between the moment your team started working on the item, and when they marked it as completed. Lead time is the time from when the work item was reported, to when it was delivered to the customer, so, the total time from the customer's perspective. While these metrics are critical in any Kanban project, they are extremely useful in Service Desk, ITSM, or any operational project. Now, let's see how this gadget can be configured. Let's say you want to see the cycle time for the problem solved by your team in the last 100 days. First, configure the gadget to use a filter with the items worked by your team. Then, configure the cycle start to be the entry in an in-progress status, and the end of the cycle to be the entry in a done category status. You can also choose to display the average duration, standard deviation, or percentiles. And look, the chart is now displayed. To identify the items that took longer than expected, you will need to set a threshold for the acceptable duration. This can be your SLA. And now, the work items that are over the limit, or the SLA breaches, are marked in red, so you can identify them, and intervene if necessary. To measure the lead time, you can do exactly the same. The only difference will be the start of the cycle, which in this case, must be set to the item creation. The gadget can also display a data tab with a detailed report, which can be easily exported to CSV format. It gives you many fine-tuning options, and it lets you configure the colors. So, don't miss the opportunity to monitor and optimize your process flow with this awesome gadget. The Histogram Chart gadget is a bar chart that helps you visualize the cycle time distribution by showing how many work items had cycle time in specific time ranges. You can use this gadget to see how fast your team delivers, how many work items were resolved within the expected time frame, and how many were not. You can configure it to measure the duration, in the form of cycle time, lead time, or time between 2 workflow statuses. Cycle time is the processing time between the moment your team started working on the item, and when they marked it as completed. Lead time is the time from when the work item was reported, to when it was delivered to the customer, so, the total time from the customer's perspective. While these metrics are critical in any Kanban project, they are extremely useful in Service Desk, ITSM, or any operational project. Now, let's see how this gadget can be configured. Let's say you want to see the cycle time distribution for the work items solved by your team in the last 100 days. First, configure the gadget to use a filter with the items worked by your team. Then configure the cycle start to be the entry in an in-progress status, and the end of the cycle to be the entry in a done category status. You can also choose to display the average line, or percentiles. And look, the chart is now displayed. To identify how many work items took longer than expected, you will need to set a threshold for the acceptable duration. And now, the red bars show the number of outliers. To measure the lead time, you can do exactly the same. The only difference will be the start of the cycle, which in this case, must be set to the item creation. The gadget can also display a data tab with a detailed report, which can be easily exported to CSV format. It gives you many fine-tuning options, and it lets you configure the colors. So, don't miss the opportunity to monitor and optimize your process flow with this awesome gadget. The Cycle Time Trend Chart helps you visualize your team's average cycle time for past time intervals, along with its trend. You can use this gadget to see how fast your team delivers, and whether or not the response time has improved over time. You can configure it to measure the duration, in the form of cycle time, lead time, or time between two workflow statuses. Cycle time is the processing time between the moment your team started working on the item, and when they marked it as completed. Lead time is the time from when the work item was reported, to when it was delivered to the customer, so, the total time from the customer's perspective. While these metrics are critical in any Kanban project, they are extremely useful in Service Desk, ITSM, or any operational project. Let's see how this gadget can be configured. Let's say you want to see the cycle time trend for the last 5 weeks. First, configure the gadget to use a filter with the items worked by your team. Then, configure the cycle start to be the entry in an in-progress status, and the end of the cycle to be the entry in a done category status. Choose to display the average cycle time, and the linear trend line. And look, the chart is now displayed. To measure the lead time, you can do exactly the same. The only difference will be the start of the cycle, which in this case, must be set to the item creation. You can also choose a polynomial trend line. The gadget can also display a data tab with a detailed report, which can be easily exported to CSV format. It gives you many fine-tuning options, and it lets you configure the colors. So, don't miss the opportunity to monitor and optimize your process flow with this awesome gadget. The Cumulative Flow Diagram is one of the most advanced analytic tools in Agile project management. More specifically, it is a stacked area chart that shows the number of work items in each status or column of the board, along the time, thus giving you quantitative and qualitative insights about your process workflow. You can use this gadget to determine how stable your flow is, to identify bottlenecks, and to understand where you need to focus on to make your process more predictable. The horizontal axis represents time, and the vertical axis represents the total number of work items. A diagram with all the bands parallel and constant indicates a stable team pace. The done band should grow constantly to assure a stable workflow and to make sure your team keeps delivering work. If the to-do band is getting larger, that could indicate that the team has capacity problems. An expanding in progress band indicates that the rate of items in this state is faster than the exit rate, so potential blockers. If the done bar remains flat, it means your team is not completing the work as expected. The cumulative flow diagram not only provides information about the number of items in each state, but it can also indicate your lead time and cycle time. Now, let's see how this gadget can be configured. All you have to do is configure the gadget to use a board or a filter that contains the items worked by your team. The gadget allows you to include the subtasks in the calculation. You can choose to calculate by issue count, story points, time estimates, or by any other numerical custom field, and to generate the chart bands by various criteria. In this example, we will choose to display the chart by issue count on 1-day-long intervals, and generate bands by issue status category. And look, the chart is now displayed on the dashboard, showing the issue count in every status category for the past days. You can also configure it to display percentage of total. And you can choose to hide bands, or customize colors. The gadget can be configured in many other ways. For example, you can use it to track essential safe metrics, like flow load, which shows the amount of work in each status, or flow distribution, which shows the amount of work items by type. For the gadget to show the flow load, all you have to do is configure it to generate bands by issue statuses. And to see the flow distribution, configure the gadget to generate bands by issue types. Don't miss the opportunity to efficiently monitor and improve your process workflow by using this awesome gadget. The time and status gadget indicates how long the work item stayed in each workflow status category, or board column. It helps you identify which parts of your workflow are time-consuming and should be improved. This gadget allows you to calculate total time, or average time. The results can be displayed in various types, as a pie chart, a bar chart, or a column chart. And the data can be grouped by different criteria, such as assignee, project, or priority. In addition, the gadget can display a data tab, which can be easily exported to CSV format. Now, let's see how this gadget can be configured. Let's say you have a filter in Jira with work items for which you want to measure the time and status. Add the gadget to your Jira dashboard, and configure it to use that filter. At what to measure, select the time and status option. In the calculation method field, choose total time. Select the pie chart as the chart type, and then save. Now the time and status gadget is displayed on the dashboard. The chart shows the total duration in each status, giving you an idea of which parts of the workflow are taking the most time. If you want to see the time and status for each team member, all you need to do is group the data by assignee. And here it is. The gadget now displays the time and status, grouped by assignees. In addition, the gadget can display a data tab, detailing the time spent in each status for each work item, which can be easily exported to CSV format. So, don't miss the opportunity to view time and status and optimize your workflow using this awesome gadget. The WIP Aging Chart gadget displays the work-in-progress items from a filter or agile board by their age, in the form of a scatterplot chart, grouped by their current status or board column. It helps you determine for how long a work item stays in its current workflow status, or board column, or how much time is left since it was created. By setting a threshold, you can easily determine those items that stay too long in their state, or the SLA breaches. Now, let's see how this gadget can be configured. All you have to do is configure the gadget to use the board, or the filter that contains the items worked by your team. The gadget allows you to include the subtasks in the calculation, and the work items from the to-do category. Choose to group the items by their status or board column, and select the appropriate age calculation method. And look, the chart is now displayed on the dashboard. Hovering over a work item will show more details about it, like its age and the number of previous occurrences in its current status or column. The gadget is highly configurable. You can choose to display the average line or percentiles, and you can set a threshold. This threshold can be your SLA. And now, the items that took longer than expected in their status or column, or the SLA breaches, will be highlighted in red. It can also display a data tab with a detailed report, which can be easily exported to CSV format. It gives you many fine-tuning options, and it lets you configure the colors. Don't miss the opportunity to improve your workflow by adding this awesome gadget to your dashboard. The WIP Run Chart gadget helps you visualize how much work in progress your team has over time. WIP is the number of items that have been started but not yet finished, or their total estimate, such as the sum of story points. By using this gadget, you can monitor your team's WIP level, so you can identify trends or patterns in your work process, such as bottlenecks, fluctuations, or improvements. You can even set maximum or minimum WIP limits, and see the WIP breaches highlighted in red, and displayed at the top of the chart. Now, let's see how this gadget can be configured. All you have to do is configure the gadget to use the board, or the filter that contains the items worked by your team. The gadget allows you to include subtasks in the calculation. It supports multiple calculation methods, such as issue count, story points, time estimates, or any other numerical custom field. In this example, we will choose to display the data by issue count, on a daily basis, for the work items that have their status in the in progress category. And here you go. The chart is now displayed on the dashboard, showing the WIP, along with the linear trend line. If you want to set a maximum or minimum WIP limit for the work items, you can do this in the More Settings tab. For this example, we will set both a maximum and a minimum limit. And now, the gadget displays two horizontal lines, representing the limit set, and will highlight in red all the items that are above the line, for the maximum WIP limit, or below the line, for the minimum WIP limit. all these items will be included in the WIP breaches count, displayed at the top of the chart. The gadget is highly configurable. You can choose between various WIP definitions. You can display polynomial trend line, or customize the colors. So, don't miss the opportunity to improve your process workflow by adding this awesome gadget to your dashboard. The Work Breakdown Structure Gadget, or WBS, can display the work items from a filter or JQL in a tree structure by their hierarchy, epic, stories or tasks, and subtasks, along with their current status, giving you a quick overview of the project's work. It can also display the additional levels on top of epics, like initiatives, if they were added in Jira. Or it can display the work items together with their linked items in their status. You can use this gadget to track the work items from a filter, an epic, or the entire project. Now, let's see how this gadget can be configured. Let's assume that you have a filter in Jira for the items that you want to track. Add the gadget to your dashboard, and configure it to use that filter. Choose to expand all levels. And here you go. It now displays the work items from the filter in a tree hierarchy, along with their status. If you want to visualize the work items from one or more epics, just add the gadget and configure it with a JQL or filter that returns the items in those epics. To display work items together with their linked items in their status, all you have to do is change the visualization mode to Linked Issues View. And there you go, the gadget now displays the work items together with their linked items in their status. So, don't miss the opportunity to visualize the status of the work items in your project in real time by using this awesome gadget. The Issue Filter Formula Gadget uses simple formulas like sum, max, count, or average to calculate and display key project numbers, such as the number of urgent items, total work remaining, the average customer satisfaction, or the progress towards your team goal. Add this gadget to your Jira dashboard and configure it according to your needs to track your projects more efficiently. Let's see some use cases. Let's say you want to display the number of urgent items in your project. To do this, configure the gadget to apply the count formula against the filter that returns the urgent items in your project. And now, the gadget is displayed on your dashboard, showing the number of urgent items. You can also choose to display this value in a different color. To do this, in the More Settings tab, change the display mode from number to number colored by value. In this case, you need to set custom limits and colors. If you check Extra Highlight by Coloring Border option, the gadget will color the border in the same color. Now, suppose you want to calculate and display the total amount of work remaining in the project. To do this, configure the gadget to calculate the sum of the estimation field for the filter that returns the remaining work items in your project. As calculation field, you can choose story points, time fields, or any other numerical field. For this example, we will choose remaining estimate. Because Jira stores the value of the time fields in seconds, you'll need to apply a math transformation to convert the formula result in hours. Set the suffix representing the unit of measure, and you'll have the value displayed on the dashboard. If you have Jira Service Management, this gadget can calculate and display your average customer satisfaction, a key metric in IT service management. All you have to do is configure it to calculate the average against the satisfaction field for a filter or JQL that returns the work items from your service desk project, and configure the gadget to display the result, preferably on a 5-star rating scale. And now, the average customer satisfaction is displayed on your dashboard. Now, let's say your team has a goal for no more than 3 escalations in a week. In this case, you can represent the progress towards this goal by configuring the gadget as a gauge chart. First, configure the gadget to apply the count formula on a filter or JQL that returns all the escalations in the last 7 days. Then, go to the More Settings tab, change the display mode to gauge, and enter the limits and the appropriate colors. Now, the gadget will display your progress towards the goal in a gauge chart. So, don't miss the opportunity to add this awesome gadget to your Jira dashboard. The Advanced Issue Filter Formula Gadget displays the results of up to 9 calculations of math formulas. Compared to the issue filter formula, this gadget is more complex, combining data from up to 9 Jira filters, and displaying more advanced calculations. You can use this gadget to calculate and display project key numbers and KPIs, as counts, sums, or percentages, to get a better overview of your project in real time. Now, let's see some use cases. Let's assume that you want to display these 9 key metrics at once. The first one is the total amount of work for your project, in story points. To display this, first, add the gadget to your dashboard, and configure the variable A as the sum of the story points field, on a filter or JQL that returns all the work items in your project. Then, choose to display the value of variable A, set the data meaning, and set the suffix. And look! The gadget now displays the total amount of work, estimated in story points. The second one is the total amount of work done. To display this, configure the variable B as the sum of the story points, based on a filter or JQL that returns all the done work items from your project. Choose to display the value of variable B in a similar way as before. And the gadget will now display both values. The third metric is the percentage of work done. For this, all you have to do is to apply the appropriate math formula, using the variables defined before. Set also the data meaning, decimal places, and the suffix. And here you go. The gadget now displays the percentage of work done. Let's continue by adding the number of urgent items. To do this, you just need to define a new variable C, as the count of items in a filter that returns the urgent work items in your project, and choose to display its value. You can also choose to display this value in a different color. You can set either a fixed color, or a number colored by value, if you want to apply different colors to specified value ranges. For this example, we will choose a fixed color. If you check extra highlight by coloring border option, the gadget will color the border in the same color. Assuming you have a custom field in Jira that tracks the cost of each item, you can easily calculate the total cost. For this, set up a new variable to calculate the sum of the cost field for the filter that returns the work items in the project. Then configure it to display its value, and set the currency as prefix. The next metric to be displayed is the total amount of time spent by your team, in hours. For this, configure a new variable to calculate the sum of the time spent field, on the filter that returns the work items in your project. Since Jira stores the value of time fields in seconds, you will need to convert the value into hours, by dividing it by 3600. Set also the data meaning field, and the suffix. And there you go. All these project key numbers are now displayed on a single gadget. This gadget can display up to 9 metrics. Just follow the same steps to add more, based on what you need. If you have Jira Service Management, this gadget can calculate and display various metrics based on the satisfaction field. For example, you can display the number of issues for each satisfaction score, by configuring the gadget like you see in this picture. In this example, the stars from the label field were added by simply copy-pasting a star emoji. So, don't miss the opportunity to track essential metrics for your projects with this awesome gadget. The Pivot Table and Pivot Chart gadget is a great tool that allows you to create and display advanced statistics on Jira dashboards, based on Jira work items, in the form of multi-dimensional tables, heat map tables, and charts of various types. Here are some specific examples. Let's say you want to display the number of story points assigned to your team members during the sprints. To do this, at the data source, select a filter, or enter a JQL that returns the issue assigned to a sprint. At Fields, select the issue fields needed for this statistic. In this case we need assignee, sprint, and story points. Since we want the statistic to be by item assignee, drag the assignee field into the rows area. It now displays the number of work items for each team member. Note that during configuration, the gadget will generate some random dummy data, and display a preview based on it. After adding the assignee field to the rows area, break this information into sprints, by adding the sprint field to the column area. As you can see, the table now shows the number of work items for each team member per sprint. Because you need the stat based on story points, change the calculation method from count to sum of story points. Click Save. And there you go. The table is now displayed on the dashboard and shows real-time statistics based on Jira data. Clicking on a value in the table will open a filter that displays the work items that generated that value. You may want this table as a heat map to easily identify the people who have been assigned the most story points. To do this, just edit the gadget and choose Heat Map Table instead of Simple Table. And look, the information is now displayed in a heat map table. You might prefer a chart instead of a table. In the configuration panel, choose the appropriate chart type. In this case, the stack column chart would be a great choice. But what if instead of story points, you want this statistic based on the percentage of story points in each sprint, for each team member? This is actually very easy to do. Just set the calculation method to sum as fraction of columns. And the table now displays percentages of the total in each column. If you want this displayed as a chart, the multiple pie chart option might work best for this case. Now let's look at another example. Let's say you want to display a statistic per project, with the number of each issue type reported each year. To do this, configure the gadget to use a filter that returns work items from your projects. Select the required fields for this statistic: project, issue type, and created. Start setting up the pivot table by adding the project field to the rows area. It now displays a preview of the output by showing the projects and the number of work items in each project using dummy data. Next, add the issue type to the rows area under project. It now divides the items in each project by type. Now let's see how to divide the data by year. First, add the created field to the columns area. As you can see, it shows the full date when each work item was created, which isn't useful, because we actually only need the year. To extract the year from the creation field, go to the More Settings tab, and change the formatting of the created field to show only the year. The gadget now shows the statistics per year. Click Save. And here you go, the multidimensional statistic is now displayed on the dashboard. Another example: if you use epics in your projects, you can also configure the gadget to display the progress of epics. Let's say you want to see the progress of epics by % of story points in each status category. To achieve this, configure the gadget with a filter or JQL that returns the items under the epic. Next, select the required fields. In this case we need parent epic, status category, and story points. Then, start setting up the pivot table. Add the parent epic field to the rows area. It now shows a preview with the number of work items for each epic, using dummy data. Next, add the status category field to the column area. It now displays the number of work items in each status category for each epic. To display the sum of story points instead of count, change the calculation to sum of story points. Now the preview shows the sum of story points for each epic. Because you need the stat based on the percentage of story points, change the calculation method from sum to sum as fraction of rows. Click Save. And there you go. The table is now displayed on the dashboard, showing the percentages of the total in each row. If you want this displayed as a chart, the stacked bar chart option might work best for this case. So, don't miss the opportunity to easily organize your data and display advanced statistics with this awesome gadget. The countdown gadget helps you see the remaining time until an upcoming event by displaying a clock counting down to a specific date and time. For example, the time to the next project release or to the upcoming team building event. Add it to your project dashboard for quick access and visibility. Let's say you want to know how much time it is until the version release. Set the date and time for the upcoming event. In this example, we will choose August 24th as the release date. Enter the specific information you want to appear in the top and bottom lines. Click Save, and there you go. You have added the countdown gadget to your Jira dashboard. You also have the option to exclude weekends from the countdown by checking Don't Count Weekends, and you can even customize how to display the time format, so you can choose to display only days and hours, for example. The regional clock gadget displays the current time of a geographic location in a digital clock format. Whether you're part of a multinational company or leading a team spread across continents, this gadget is your secret weapon for synchronized success. To add the regional clock gadget to your Jira dashboard, simply go to Edit, search for the regional clock gadget, click Add, and then you'll have your configuration panel for the gadget appear. Let's say you want to know what time it is in Paris, for instance. For that, we have to select the region, which is going to be Europe, and the time zone. Here, you have a variety of cities to choose from, but we are going to select Paris for this example. In the top line section, you can enter the name of the city you selected to know what time zone you are looking at. Click the Save button, and here you go. You have added the regional clock gadget to your Jira dashboard.